彼の残した言葉の中にもあるんですが、いい写真を撮るための最初の条件、これはカメラを持っていることだと。彼が一番思考していたのは、多くの人にいかに写真を撮ってもらうか。
1960年代に前谷さんというオリンパスの技術者がいましてね。
カメラが当時はまだ高級品なので、前谷さんをはじめとする開発の方々が多くの人に使ってもらうにはどうしたらいいかって考えた中で、カメラ自体をもっと安く作りたい。
当時6000円で作れないかっていうふうにできたカメラです。
そして当時高かったフィルム代、現像代を少しでも負担を減らしたい。そうしたらハーフサイズのカメラを作ろう。そうすると倍撮れるのですごく経済的です。
で 35mm カメラの24枚だと48枚撮れます。それが非常に画期的だということで、使われた。ペンが出た時にオリンパスを持って家族写真を撮ったりなんかする人が非常にいましたですね。
主にプロを中心として使う機材が変わってきていた。なるべくいいものを作ろうと各社していて、どうしても大きくなってしまっている。その中で前谷はやっぱりプロが本当に求めるものってそういうことなのかっていうことに疑問を感じて、その中で生まれたのが OM1 だと考えています。
結局彼がこれ集大成なんですね。やっぱりかなり命が吹き込まれたカメラではないかなっていうふうに僕は思います。
When I got into the newspaper business, it was just coming off the time when 2.25 was kind of the equipment preferred. The guy that hired me came from the speed graphic day, the 4x5. As technology progressed, all of a sudden it was accepted that 35mm was great for newspaper work. It's not as physically imposing as a larger camera. The more I become invisible, the more I can become part of the scene, the more the photographic opportunities present themselves to me. The camera, it becomes a productive tool. It's there for a purpose. Maitani realized that, and that drove the original design of the OM. When you put it in your hand, everything was where you wanted it to be. The aperture's right here. My two front fingers take care of that. Other fingers fall back to the shutter speed. It's an enabler, it's a conduit, not an interference between you and what's happening.
1996年にオリンパスは最初の民生品のデジタルカメラを出したわけですけれども、フィルムであろうとデジタルであろうとないものを作るというのは全社共通で、今でも一番ベーシックなところに流れているのではないかなと考えます。
デザインを検討するときにスケッチを書いて最初検討して、その次にですね 3D データを入れてからこのようなラフな削りのモデルを作ります。でこれをベースにボタンの位置が適切であるかとか、あるいはグリップ性能はこれでいいかとかっていうのを検討していくんですけれども、我々が一番に考えていることはやはり使われる方、ユーザーのことです。
There's certainly an emotional connection with your camera. As soon as you pick it up, you know, you have a feeling. It's the design, it's how it looks, and it's how it's going to support you in achieving the image that you want to capture. Size and portability and mobility in photography is a message that we've been talking about for decades. The philosophy of the Olympus cameras is being able to shoot everywhere. We had a photographer go to Antarctica, and obviously you've got crazy low temperatures there. We created technology that enables them to do that. If you were that customer, what would the end solution be that you would want? It's important to always be thinking about what do people need, what are they going to need, what's the future going to be, and to aspire to deliver that.
災害に遭われた方が取り戻したいものの最も大事なものの一つがやっぱ写真なんですね。それって単なる現像された紙ではなくて、その当時の家族の思い出がやはりそこに残っているってみんなが思うので、思い出を取り戻したいという気持ちがあると思うんです。 つまり写真にはそれだけの力があると思っています。
I've got a photograph of our son. I think he was a year old. It's got the catch light in his eyes. Wonderful moment in getting ready to tap the glass. It's not a great photograph, but it's a great moment. Wow, look at that. I remember that. Oh, look at this. You know, raising your kids, the pains and the struggle and the exhaustion and the joys and all these things that occur. What a wonderful confirmation it is of you as a human. This is who we are and who we were.
今でもそのものを作るにあたってはお客様の声というのをすごく大事にしています。マイタリが残した言葉の一つに、我々はカメラを開発提供しているんではなくて、カメラを通じて人々が幸せになることを提供しているんだっていう言葉があります。ないから作る、その精神というのを日々実現しようと、これこそが社会に対するオリンパスの役割だと思っています。
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, actually, afternoon here, but some places could be morning or evening even. So, welcome back to my YouTube live stream video. And today, like I mentioned before, is going to be a more relaxed version compared to last week's more intensive kind of hands-on editing stuff. But this week is it's all about a chat about my journey in photography. I hope this will make it inspirational to some, and also maybe informative and also interesting, just to find out, basically how I got my hands on my camera in the first place, and all the way, to where I am today. And so it should be quite an interesting journey for some of you, for people who may be just starting out, for people who already been playing around with photography and cameras for many years. And it's an exchange, because I also posted a community post asking what started your photography, and I know that some of you already responded, so I will be sharing some of those comments as well. So it's quite a good exchange, and hopefully we're gonna have some fun together today. So before I start, of course, I need to say some hello. I know some of you already saying hi to me already, and that's perfect, right? So D Diver, hello there, good day, and John Fallows from Manchester, ZL, hello there, Patrick, David, and Burana, hello, Victor, Casper, and Marsha, hello, and Amir and Jean. Wow, we got quite a few people already. So, okay. Before I start, I want to clarify a couple of things first, because since I posted the video on the competition yesterday, I got a few questions about the editing categories. Right, you know that in the competition there are multiple categories you can enter. There is like macro, landscape and nature, and like human, which is like portraits, and documentaries and street, and different categories. But the editing bit it seems to confuse everybody. First of all, yes, you have to edit your photos before you submit. You have to present your best work, so to speak. So that is part of your edit anyway. But when I say editing category, this is slightly different. I'm talking about enhancement to a photograph, which will basically transform your original capture, turning from zero to hero, that kind of thing. So it could be through photo manipulation in Photoshop or any equivalent software. It could be a very dramatic change in terms of colors, and also the whole dynamic of the photo completely changed by lifting the highlight, shadow, the shadow, and compressing the highlight. Anything to do with heavy lifting editing, that is the editing categories. Nothing to do with just general contrast and saturations and highlight shadow thing. It's not about the general stuff. That you can if you really want to, but I really want to see those really kind of people putting a lot of effort into one photograph by actually doing the little gritty thing, going into pixel levels, and that's sort of thing that we're looking at in terms of the editing categories. So hopefully this will clarify a little bit about the editing side of it. And secondly, And people were a little bit confused on the let me what was that? What was that now? Yes, to do with how many entries you can enter. You can enter as many if you wish. There's no limit. In fact, this competition is quite relaxed. You know, I don't want it to be like very kind of rigid and imposing in a way. So just really relax. You can enter with any of your photo. You can submit unlimited photos. It can be captured with film cameras, digital cameras, instant cameras. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be within the last 12 months. You can submit something that you captured 10 years ago, as long as you think it's good. So there's no limit whatsoever there. So hopefully, you know, the whole purpose of the thing is just to inspire each other about great photographs that you capture before. So that's all I want to say about the competition. But if you have any other question, you are very welcome to, you know, contact me, of course. The sun is bright again. Okay, let me just change a little bit. Okay, there we go. So, like I said, if you got any more questions about the competition, you're very welcome just to email me. You, you got all my contacts already. You got the link up here. You see my Instagram. You can see my website. The contact forms there. You can just drop me a line, or I'm on Facebook, so you know, you just message me on Facebook as well. That's easy. So that's cool. That's all cool. Right. Okay. I've got a few more people join us. Say some highs before I start my today's presentation. It's going to be fun, right? Okay. Tara from Norway, David Jones, and from Bangkok, hello, and James Wong from Brunei, Robert Joseph, hello there. Excellent stuff. So we've got a few more people now. So shall I make a start? Shall I make a start? It's going to be a long one, so I'm going to have a short break and just answer some questions if you have any in between. So make sure that you have one of these ready, because it's going to be a lot of talking today. Well, I talk a lot anyway, usually. But hopefully it's not going to be too boring. Right, so this is the first time I actually try to share my screen using a Keynote, so I just need to see whether it works. If it doesn't work, please do let me know. And let me just switch off some of the social stuff here, so I'm not going to disturb anything else here. Let me just get rid of the Olympus logo as well, so I can get a clear view of my photos, right? You want that. So let me just take that off as well. Oh, look at that. I suddenly feel so naked. That's weird, isn't it? Okay, right. Let me share my screen first. So like okay, 1 second. Here we go. Oh, what happened there? Let's go into the website. Right. Okay, I need to go to my Keynote. So guys, can you actually see my, oh, it's still strange. You're still not sharing my Keynote. I'm just making sure, I need to make sure that it works. Hello Jan from Copenhagen, Denmark. Great stuff. Well, let me just play it anyway, just to see if it works. No, it doesn't work. Right, okay. I got a slight problem here because I do want to share my slides. So let me just give me a couple of minutes. I did try it earlier, but for some reason, oh, there we go. I can select it. Fine. Okay, got it. Okay, can you guys see my slide? Let me just play in full screen. Yes, yes, I made it work. And you can see me right in the corner as well. So this is my reaction photo, eh? Okay, great stuff. So today's presentation is about my journey in photography. I have already presented this in a photo organization a couple of weeks ago, and everyone seemed to like it. So that's why I wanted to share this with you guys about, you know, how I started my journey and the struggles and everything in between until where I am today. So everybody, if you are new here, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jimmy Cheng. I'm a professional photographer and filmmaker. I started my photographic journey possibly about, well, unprofessional, in like non-professional, amateur days. It will be like about 20 years ago. So that's very, very long time ago now. And let me just, oh, I can't, hang on a second. I still can't do my slide properly. Can I change? Oh, I can change it. Yes, I can change it. Just a little bit slower than normal. Dale, hello there. Just tune in, that's no problem. Mr. Fiu from Finland. How much an influence on image quality does 2 or 3 generations of image processor? Okay, I'm going to answer some of those questions later, all right? Okay, so who am I? I'm a Jimmy Cheng. Yeah, my name is Jimmy Cheng. I'm a professional photographer and ambassador of Olympus cameras, as you may already know. If you don't, here I am. Okay, this very photo here is myself and my father, dated back in the old days, I want to declare how old I am. And but yes, obviously some of you have been following my channel and knows that my dad recently passed away. So this is a very emotional picture of that I've dug out from the negative archive. Having said that, though, this photo is is very old. Unfortunately, I didn't have the print, so the negative was a little bit disintegrated, so I had to kind of rescue it in a way. I scanned it with my dedicated film scanner, and then I have to do a lot of restoration. I can still see that the quality isn't quite there because it was hard to restore all the details simply because it's lost. And that's why I always said to a lot of people who still shoot film is to use proper negative sleeves, store them and put them in a dry room. If you don't have a dry room and then or dry cabinet, make sure that you have one of those the little bag with the jelly beans in it that trying to keep everything dry. Put a couple of those bags into the box where you store the negative, trying to keep everything dry. You need them to be dry so you won't disintegrate it over time. Obviously, saying that though, this negative has been there for decades in humid environment, and that didn't help at all. But anyway, so this is the very emotional pictures that I had with my dad, and it's been a long time, obviously, but it really kind of reminded me the joyful moment that I had when I was a kid, even though I didn't kind of remember too much of it. You can see, I was probably about a year old, maybe just under 2. Yeah, there's a lot of memories that I couldn't quite remember, when I was 2. And so I probably starting to remember a lot more when I was about 3 or 4. But yeah, having said that, this is a nice photo of him. So the whole thing is kind of more dedicated to him because I will reference my dad later on as well. So there you go. Let's continue this. And hello, Jimmy Cool from Singapore. Yes, indeed. And that photo just reminds me how short life is, and it goes by so fast. Yeah, and this is something that, of course, and another thing that I need to say about this today's slideshow is that I have been, working as a photographer professionally for 15 years, and I started way before that. I couldn't understand where the time flies. Like it went by so quickly, and I couldn't even believe already working as a pro for 15 years already. But it still feels like yesterday. And when I gave up my 9-to-5 jobs and picked up a camera, when a lot of my colleagues, a lot of even my family members really shocked in a way. I had a fairly well-paid job before, and I gave it all up and started from scratch because I was changing career altogether. I was an engineer, so I designed buildings. So I it's nothing to do with art, nothing to do with visuals, nothing. So it's complete change, complete U-turn, and so like even my colleagues at the time thought why would you do that? And but for me, that's my interest, that's my passion. I developed it years before I started working, in the city, when I was studying in university. So I actually started back then, but I just didn't have the guts to actually come out to do it. Until the point that, which I'm going to show you a couple of photos later, that drove me into I would say that was the breaking point for me, and how kind of pushed me into believing in myself as a photographer, what I wanted to become in the future. So let's start with this journey now, and there we go. So I saw a lot of your comments in this is my son, by the way. I saw a lot of comments in my YouTube community page saying that what I asked the question, what started your photography, and many of you actually said that documentary, memories, and that is exactly how I started. And yeah, you want to memorize something, and there's nothing better than taking a photograph to remember that moment, right? You can't argue with that. Yes, everyone may have a photographic memory, but it's so different when you actually physically have a photograph in front of you. You can feel, when you're looking at that photo, you can kind of draw all your memories back from that single moment, and that's the power of photography. And I love that. And you can see, like, this is my son, a couple of years back now, and I'll be documenting, their lives since they were born. And this is took this year, when we were in lockdown, London in lockdown, and obviously we were, stuck at home. So I got out the door and just take some photos through the window frame. It's just something to remember that particular time that we lived in. And in this particular case, it's such a memorable moment for us, especially probably worldwide. You know, everybody experienced the same thing, one way or the other. We had a major lockdown in London. You know, we couldn't go out and we couldn't meet anybody. So we felt kind of restrictive and restricted just within our own environment. So it's a good way for me just to go out to take a photograph through the window frames, showing that, you know, they're still happy. It's a lot of things going on, actually. You know, when you look back at this photo in 10 years time, you will remember it and say, oh, that was the time when we basically all stayed at home for 6 months, you know. And it's a lot to talk about, you know, but that's the power of photography, right? And then, of course, you know, being a parent myself, one of the easiest subject for me to document would be my kids. You know, who doesn't want to, you know, witness their children grow up, and then taking lots and lots of photos and videos of them, just to remember the time when they were young. And it's quite emotional in a way when I look at these pictures now. This picture actually taken about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I think it's about 3 years ago now. And I just couldn't believe how quickly they grow. So it's amazing, you know, just to see time changes, and it's unbelievable how you can relate to the actual time frame and in your life. You know, obviously when you look at 3-4 years ago, you are younger, they are younger, but that thing just changed so dramatically, especially this year. You know, like this year changed so many people's lives already. It's just really difficult to kind of imagine what is going to happen in the future. But that, obviously, that's something that we just have to experience ourselves. You know, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so we're just going to wait and see. Okay, and so let's continue doing something like this. Remember the Olympus intro video that I played earlier? This is exactly what Jay Dickman was saying, the old gentleman, you know, and he's Olympus visionary. He's a very well-known photojournalist and also award-winning National Geographic photographer. He mentioned something that is so true in my life as well, is that if you look at just look at this picture, it's not a perfect picture. You know, if you look closely, this is slightly out of focus. You know, it just framing wise, it's not quite right, but it's a perfect moment of my kids. So, you know, when it comes to photography, sometimes it's not just about the technical perfection, but also you have to consider the actual emotion, the timing, and also the actual moment itself that tells the story. So I think a lot of people, especially when they look at competitions and when you look at like photo club level discussions, they will find that a lot of people will criticize a lot of things like composition, the rule of thirds, and, you know, exposures and things. I think for a lot of photographers, you know, if you are being practical, if you are looking at yourself, a lot of this doesn't count. You know, I think the best thing for you to realize is that if this is a photo that makes you happy, and this is a good photo, right? If this is a photo that makes you cry, this is a great photo. And to me, there's nothing more than that, you know. And you know, sometimes if you look at this photo, will I use this photo for competition? No, it isn't. But it's for me. It's for myself. Photography isn't to show everybody. You know, that's another thing. I'm going to talk about it heavily because this is how I'm becoming a pro in a minute. So, okay. Let's stop here for 1 second, and let's see if I can answer some questions first, and see if you guys have anything else you want to ask me. And right, let me just go back to Ecamm Live here. So I'm gonna bring in the comment here. Right, Jimmy Co. Some people turn passion into profession. With this shift, it actually made their passion died, or due to the passion and profession are totally different things. Very, very true, and I can explain that in hopefully in a simpler terms. Right? Yes. Once you turn into profession, and the difference is that you no longer creating photographs for yourself, because you are making money, right? You are creating photographs for someone else, and this could change a lot of things, because you first of all you may not have the time anymore to let's say, to create something that you really want to see. In a way, a lot of clients that when they hire me, they know my style, they know my kind of vision, so they like my style. That's why they pay money for it. So in that way, they know the way I work. But at the same time, I still need to satisfy what they want to do, right? And then I want to go to this place. I want to have some more close up of me because I have this dress on, whatever. Like I have to oblige to that, because they pay money and I have to do it. In a way that when you become a professional, you no longer have the say to do a lot of things. However, I have to say that you can, continue to have your own project on the side. It doesn't stop you from creating your own photographs, and that's something you have to remember that. But at the same time, when you're trained up as a profession, when you're becoming more known as a professional, you can also stress to your client that this is the way I work. I want to create photographs my way, not, don't throw me a dozen of Pinterest photographs that's saved on your phone and show me that I want this and that. I always tell my clients I don't do those stuff. If you are so keen on recreating those photographs that you saw online or on Instagram or other places, please find those photographers, because I'm not them. So like over time, people know how I work, and because a lot of my business are through word of mouth anyway, so they just expect something that they saw already and kind of appreciated the style that my photography, and also they saw my work from I given to their friends, so they see it and they just say, oh, I like this sort of thing. So it's through education, but it's a gradual thing. You can't just insist overnight. When you first start, it's going to be a bit harder because when you don't have the reputations there, you don't have the contacts there. So you kind of, in a way, you want to please your client so much that I would do everything to just to grab the business. To that extent, yes, you may want to do that for the first year or so, but ultimately you don't want to do that. You don't want to always say yes to your client. At some point, you will have to say no because, this is for your own sake. I'm only telling you that. 1 second, I think it's gonna be dark again, so let me just pull it back up again. There we go. All right, okay, let's see if there's another questions here. Hopefully that makes sense. And then if you have any further question, then you can definitely let me know. All right, I got another question there. How do you manage your photography passion when you transition into profession? I'm gonna mention that a bit later. That's no problem. Who's Sarah Peters? Hello, listening while on my way to my next job. All right, okay, great stuff. So no more question for now. Let me continue my journey, right? Okay, let's go back to my keynote. Right. So the word curiosity is interesting because when I was picking up my camera, and a lot of the time I simply don't know what's going on, and sounds a bit wrong, but then hearing me out a little bit. But when I go to a place, I would do a lot of desktop studies, and I would do a lot of background work before I take any photographs, and I suggest many photographers to do that because you want to get the best from your photography, from your skills, right? Okay, let's say if you do travel photography, you want to go out not to do the same thing that hundreds of thousands of people are already doing, yeah. And let's say you go to, for instance, you go to Niagara Falls in Toronto in the States, yeah. This is a well-known landmark. Everybody knows about it. You Google it, Niagara Falls, it would be like millions of photos pops up. But if you look at those photos, yeah, tell me, are they look similar? And I can guarantee that 80 to 90% of those photographs looks almost identical because people take the same shots. So these are the sort of studies I'm telling you about. You kind of have to do a lot of geographical studies. You have to do a lot of study, a lot of background work, a lot of information, even history about the place, because that will give you the sense of why you should be taking that photograph. Not just because it's a beautiful place. You want to know a little bit about it because you can create a story from it. And then also, you don't want to take the same angle that everybody has already taken. You want to be a little bit different. I'm telling you, in photography, if you're different, you are better. And then and it's kind of a simpler way to do it, saying it. So it's a good way to to improve your photography is just by through study of desktop study. It's quite often that you can get rid of 99% of the problems already. And obviously, weather will affect it. You know, if you're shooting outdoor, a lot of elements could affect the outcome. But ultimately, if you want to do something slightly different to everybody else, and that automatically will make your photograph looks a lot more interesting for some people, right? You still have to obviously execute it well and expose it well and do all sorts of editing that you need to do later on. But that's a very, very good first step. Okay, so these are some of the photos that I taken in the earlier days when I was still shooting films, and I was a big fan of black and white films. And back in the days, I just took a lot of black and white film photographs through my Leica, because I do like to shoot rangefinders in my younger days. So whenever I travel, I just have my little Leica and with me, and just shoot all over the world. It's something that I truly enjoy, right? And this is the travel stuff that I kind of got me into looking into different things, right? That's why the word curious at the beginning of the slideshow there, because I was curious about not only the place but also the people, the human, the cultural side of it. So every time I go somewhere, I like to try and extract that little bit of cultural differences from whatever I'm photographing. So not only that I wanted to look at the overall scenic side of it, but I also try to incorporate a little bit of the human elements in it, just to highlight exactly what's going on there, and the also the differences between their living style and our living style as much as possible. So this is a photograph, or the beginning of the photograph. I want to show you. This is a visit to China that happened quite some time ago now, actually. So this series of photos I'm going to show you in a minute, and not the entire series, but I'm just a few selections of it, is what got me into professional photography. And because back in the, I would say, late 90s, early 2000s, when internet was still kind of becoming popular, and I was one of the earliest bloggers online, and I love writing, even though I'm a crap, total rubbish writer. But I love writing. I love to remember my journey in photography, not photography, just my journey. Yeah, wherever I go, whatever I do, it's almost like a diary, right? You know, I love kind of documenting myself. You know, oh, today I ate 2 portions of chips. You know, I was studying whatever, you know, in uni, or tomorrow I'm going to wherever just to do a visit. I would like to write about things. And when I went to China, I took photos like this one, and then I started to write about it. I wrote about everything that I saw in that trip. This China trip, I spent 14 days in China. I went to 8 different cities, and including some villages, remote villages, and it was fantastic. It was almost like a trip of my life. I mean, I want to go back. I want to see more, but so far I haven't really got time for it. But anyway, so I took a lot of these photos, and I wrote 3 parts, 3 blocks, 3 separate blocks about my trip. I have a lot of photos attached to it. I describe everything about it, you know, my experience, and that blog became viral. And to my surprise, actually, you know, I never thought that any of my stuff would become anything popular, but somehow it just became quite a popular thing. So people read about it, people referred to it, people starting to put my link through to any other thing. And this is still in the early days of blogging. And yeah, people liked it. And it got so popular that Business Insider in the US and Australia separately saw my blog, read it, saw all the photos. They were so interested in them, and they called me. At the time, I still had no idea how they got my number. But anyway, they called me. They called my mobile, and they said, "Oh, we are Business Insider from US, and I'm the editor." I actually forgot her name now. And so I saw your blog of China. It's very interesting, very intriguing. You got loads of really good photos there. I would like to do an interview with you. I want to feature some of your photos in our websites and magazines. As that, oh. this is the first, right? I've never ever done anything like that, or being asked to have me interviewed and published. And I said, oh, okay, why not? It wasn't paid. It wasn't no, there's no pay at all. They just wanted to see my stuff, and I thought, why not? I wasn't even doing for money in the first place. Just wanted to record my journey, right? So they published the whole series of photos, and also the words and everything like that in both the US and Australia separately. I was chuffed, and I was really happy to to have someone enjoying my work. That was the tipping point. That was the tipping point of me thinking that maybe I am good enough to do something, in photography. Maybe I will be able to live on my passion, relating to photography or documenting whatever I see through the world, through around the world, and things like that. Yeah, so that was really the tipping point, and I thought, okay, that's it. I was still working on my project at the time, and it's really high profile project. So as soon as that project finished, and I just gave the resignation letter to my boss, and my boss will say, why is it, do you have not enough pay or something? Is that, well, as much as I want a pay rise, but I just want to say that I'm really grateful for everything that I learned so far, and in the jobs and everything. But I think my passion lies somewhere else, and I started to take interest in photography, and I can see that people do like my stuff. So I made the decision I wanted to start in a different way, and so that was obviously all mutual. It's all good. I left the company happy. My boss was happy. We're still in contact, and so that was all good. So then I picked up my camera and started, being a pro. So this series of photos you see here is all from that same series in China, and these were taken with, at the time, my Canon cameras, and I will still remember. I had to. This is the Mount Hua in China, one of the highest mountains in China, and I have to hike up 3,000 feet, and carrying my full frame stuff. Yeah, I'm talking about like really heavy stuff. I got my 5D full frame camera body. I had the 2470, 7200, 85 1.2, and speed light. I have no idea why I took the speed light up, but I took the speed light and a and a tripod, together with waters. When you hike and things like, you have water, water, clothing, snacks, and anything. The whole backpack is about, I would say, about 18 kilo. It was really heavy, and I had to walk up this mountain, 3,000 feet, hiked all the way up. It was tough, but I was a lot younger, a lot fitter then, and but it was all pretty cool. But if I had the Michael Four Third gear, I probably would be laughing, because you all know that if you use Michael Four Third, how small our kits are, how much lighter when compared to full frame stuff, so that is all pretty good. Oop, let me just put it a bit long, bit brighter. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's something, right? Now, because back then, of course, there was no Michael Four Third around yet. There were 4/3 cameras, but they weren't that much lighter or smaller compared to full frame, unfortunately. But overall, I was very happy, and so I like I mentioned before, I tell you guys that I switched to Olympus. I was a big Canon guy for so many years, and you can see a lot of these photos were, especially in the early days, are taken in Canon cameras. So this is all taken in China from the same trip. Like I mentioned, I like to document the local culture, that the younger kids were playing, and then they were so happy to see me with the camera, and I love it. And like this particular photo here, you see that it's a really interesting photo here, because this won't happen in the Western world. Full stop. This is what a lot of people in the developed world would say that is animal cruelty. This camel here would stand all day, probably about like 8 hours, not like, just wouldn't move, just stood there, earning money from the keeper, which is on the right here. And so you pay obviously just a very small amount of money, and you were talking about possibly just 50p, you know, I don't know, it's just very, very cheap money. You go on it, take a photo, and you can leave. I didn't do any of that actually, and because I think that it's just horrible. I did give him some money, but it's something that we probably won't be able to see again, and especially if I go back to China, this may not happen already. So it's a very important thing for me to document something that I can still see, while this is more like a time frame that I snapped within China itself, because I'm pretty sure that this photograph will become a history. You know, if I go back to China now, this may not even be there anymore. They may not be allowed to do this anymore. So it's still going to be a very significant piece that I think a lot of people should be aware. You know, when they go to places like developing countries and developing villages, yeah, when you see something that unique, you should be able to capture that and just use it as a memento. So now moving into slightly more modern era now, and this is a photograph that I took actually last year, not very old. This one, during my test with the EM5 Mark III. This was shot in the EM5 Mark III with the 40 to 152.8 Pro at 300. So again, you know, I like to every now and then do a little bit of landscape stuff because it's part of us, right? It's part of our nature. And so I whenever I see a nice scene, you know, scenic stuff in front of me, I would try to do something. And I just enjoying the natural the nature side of it. And this particular one also, and that's something that I do a lot and quite often, is human portrait, stranger's portrait on the street. This particular guy here I saw in Brighton, and he was sitting in front of a cafe. It's an easy subject, you know. I was holding camera, he's holding camera, and we just had this quick conversation there, and he's just happy for me to take a portrait of him. And this sort of stuff I do it a lot, and you know, kind of since about 10 years ago. Every time I go out, if I do have the time, I will try to stroll around to see if I can find any interesting characters, and I just snap some photographs of them. A lot of them are quite happy for me to do so, and some of them may be a bit aggressive sometimes, but I never kind of get a no from them. I just, you know, sometimes I just have to talk a lot longer before I can ease them into it. Okay, so this is another photograph that I captured. You might have seen this. I used this as a wallpaper for the YouTube channel for quite some time. And this is a photograph that I particularly enjoyed the framing side of it. So you can see that the window frame in the middle, the black line there, is a perfect division between the left frame and the right frame. And it's quite a big contrast. And especially if you look at the left side, the left frame there, you got two persons doing exactly the same pose, and I just find it quite interesting there. And if you look on the right hand side, which is completely different there because it's outside, right? And so it's a good contrast, but it's human. It's all human reactions there, and that I'm trying to capture on a day-to-day basis. This is the daily life, and this is a very typical cafe in London. And I just enjoy this sort of kind of observation in a way, and I find it quite interesting. So that's another photograph here, and so a lot of you guys may not be aware of utilizing color temperature to do something dramatic. My God, suddenly it's gone so dark. 1 second, I'm gonna try to turn on the light here, even though I've got spotlight, but it's just not happening here. There we go. That's a lot better. And okay, so using color temperature to create effects is something that you may not actually be aware of or trying to do. Right. This is something that I can give you a little bit of a fun fact, right? So look at this picture here. This is shot with the EM1 Mark II. In digital, it's very easy to achieve because you can set your color temperatures and things like that very easily. You know, you can go to custom white balance and you can just set the color temperature in kelvins. And so once you fix the white balance into certain values, you can manipulate a lot of stuff. In this particular case, look at that. I set the color tones to the actual spotlight that coming up from the window, and then anything else becoming a lot different, especially towards this time here. This is about like kind of like early evening, because spotlight is very warm. Yeah, as you know, it's very warm. So if I dial it down, and that means everything else apart from the spotlight will be very cold. And you can see that huge contrast, the blue at the back there is all because of the color temperature difference. And if you play around digitally, it's very easy to achieve. I didn't do any Photoshop or anything like that. It's completely in camera. And obviously, I do a little bit adjustment in terms of shadows and stuff like that later on. But overall, the colors is exactly how I shot it. And this is something you may want to experiment a little bit. This is a really fun thing to do. It's a lot easier to do in the city because you've got more windows, you've got more lights to play with. But it's something that is quite cool, right? You know, I always talk about lights and shadows, and during daytime it's easy, you know, and also when you're doing black and white, it's easy. But when you're trying to do contrast in color terms, it can be quite confusing sometimes. In this particular case, it's very straightforward because you've got very cold temperature from the street, and you've got a very warm light from the spotlight through the windows. And yeah, it's pretty cool, right? So talk about light and shadow. This is a complete opposite. During daytime, harsh shadow, you know, and a very bright light, very easy to achieve. And everybody who's done street photography will have done something similar already. So that is cool. That is all something. And nothing to be screaming about, but I just want to show you the difference between the color and the black and white contrast. Right, this is another photograph that I would like to tell you a little bit about. Utilizing lights and shadow can create directions in your photographs. Obviously, there is lots of ways to direct your viewer's eyes to your subject, like through leading lines, through compositions, and things like that. But this particular case, I didn't apply the composition. I only utilized the light to shape the directions. So like this is very easy to do. Depending on where you are, how harsh the shadow is. You need very strong sun to do this though, because they will cast a very harsh shadow there. And in this particular case, you can see the angle of the light coming into the horse. That draws your eye straight to it. So another thing that to improve your photography, just by looking and trying to imagine a lot of stuff happening around you. Because a lot of people always say that, oh, harsh shadow is very difficult to photograph. But in fact, you know, if you're into street photography, harsh shadow is actually quite a fun thing to do, right? You always get high contrast scenes and stuff like that. Okay, now it's another travel photos that I want to share with you. This is one I took in Cuba. And so rather than taking a normal, just a generic photographs of the street or the people, remember what I said about I was trying to involve as many local and also involving the human side of it in a frame as much as possible. This is one very classic example of my photography. And so it literally summarized what Cuba is today. Right, first of all, the frame kind of out of focus in this particular photo is the very classic American cars that you see all day, every day in Cuba. They're taxis, so you hire them, you can sit on them. So I hired these convertibles and you know, driving us around the Cuban city in Havana. And so I snapped this shot utilizing the actual front windscreen as my framing. So I have, obviously you can see that the classic car straight away, you know, even though that is out of focus, but you do recognize it. And through the windscreen, you can see into the street shot. This is the Cuban street, and they're very, very easy to do. And also, instantly, you see a couple of tourists in front of me. Right, why would I want to photograph or include the tourists in this particular frame? Is because, like I mentioned earlier, I want to capture what Cuba is today. You know, it's a very heavily tourism going on there. It's a lot of tourists. When I was there, I was shocked by how many tourists were there. And so this is exactly what is changing now in Cuba. They opened up a lot. They welcome foreigners and many things there. You know, you see these things booming. That the tourism is definitely booming there. Lots of things doing. A lot of things you can do. However, I still have to give a word of advice. If you're planning to go to Cuba, try to stay within the developed areas. Try not to wander off. I almost got mugged, and then in Cuba. In Havana, just by wandering off, trying to take some street photographs, I almost basically get all my gears nicked. And so this is something that a word of warning: stay within the tourism areas or not too far away from it. And always, if you can, walk in pairs, not to walk by yourself, and unless you know locals, unless you have a friend there, unless you know Spanish, because they speak a lot of Spanish there, and then otherwise, if you just pure English speaking, or if you don't speak any Spanish, you know, just a word of advice: just try not to wander off too far from the main routes. But other than that, it's pretty cool. It's very enjoyable trip that I had there. I took loads of photographs, you can imagine, and it's a beautiful place, beautiful people. You know, got lots of stuff you can do. Definitely. So this is another Cuban shot that I did here. Right, you may not realize what I shot with this particular shot. I shot it with my Olympus TG5, right? Nothing big, nothing special. It's a cheap point and shoot camera. And in photography, a lot of the time you don't need the heavy gears and things like that. You know, whatever is convenient for you, right? So at the time, I actually had my EM5 Mark II with me, but I actually tucked it back in my camera bag. I didn't take it out. So so the easiest and the quickest for me to capture this shot, because I saw this bright blue car coming around the corner, and I saw that gentleman there standing in the actual circle a bit there. I thought, oh, this would be a nice shot if the car swing by. So the quickest for me to do is reach out my TG5 and just point and shoot, right? Turn it on, half a second is on, and I just straight down, bam, the car went past, just snapped the shot. And so happened I captured just in time. It's a little over the line. I was hoping that it would just before the line, but at least it's still there. And but anyway, it's what you capture that counts. And it's not so much about what you use to capture that shot. So this is another shot I took in Cuba, and it's always about colors. And in this particular case, it's green. Yeah, you've got 50 shades of green right in here. And you got a tree, you got a building, and you got a car, and everything is just green. The only thing is not green is the water tank above the building, and also the sky, the blue. But everything else, including the bench, is green. If you notice a little bit of detail there, this is not Photoshop. This is completely how it looked when I was there. So it's a lot of these little things you can see and trying to pay attention to, and it's all about observation at the end of the day. Right, another about changing Cuba and also about current Cuba is that this particular shot is something for me to record, to document human lives within Cuba. Right, a lot of people might think this is a boring shot, but like Martin Parr says, you know, these may look boring to you today, but in 50 years' time, you know, they are such a value that you cannot put a number to it. So this is one of those shots, right? And you can see that this particular photographs here highlighting the change from old Cuba to new Cuba. If you look at the left side of the frame here, it's a very old traditional Cuban buildings there is almost collapsing, and they have the wooden scaffold there just to hold it in place. While the right hand side, the yellow side of it is new. This is the new refurbished apartment. You know, even when I say new, it's still not new. It's just basically refurbished. But you can tell the contrast there. You know, and you got obviously the lady standing by the balcony there, just to highlight, you know, the day-to-day life, and this is a normality for them, and something that I want to document. It's simple as that. I know that in a few years' time now, you can see that on the left-hand side that could turn into a very nice, fresh painted building. It would be completely different to the right-hand side of the building there. So once again, I think that this is something for me to cap. So for me to keep, I've got another about 6 or 7 different photos there around the same theme, and just to document the changes between old Cuba and new Cuba. And even though some of them are slightly more deeper, that you have to read the actual elements within the frame to be able to understand the photos. So something that I can talk about later on when you learn a bit more photography about how you create a photograph that can be read later on. And because it's not something about very standard shot like this one. This is a very standard shot that you can take anywhere in Cuba, and you know, old cars, street, you know, and it's a very, I would say, touristy shot. But when you're there, you know, it's no harm to do some touristy stuff, right? Definitely no harm to do that, because you are a tourist. I was a tourist, so I was there just to do some standard stuff. But at the same time, you may want to just do a little bit of research and trying to do something slightly different. Remember what I said? Slightly different. So, okay, this is another shot that I took in London, this particular one. When I talk about photography in variety terms, is that you can utilize a lot of different techniques but at the same time, you can use a lot of different gears to achieve that techniques and also that style. So in this particular shot, I use a very wide, ultra wide lens to do this, and also at the same time, I actually lie down on the floor to take this particular shot with the permission of the lady at the back, because obviously, she was wearing a skirt. I just don't want to offend her in any way. And also, like, some people may be a bit wary about photographing their pets and things like that. So I asked the permission. I said, like, oh, can I take a photograph of the pet? But I would lie down. I want to get really low down. So she wouldn't mind. She said, okay, that's fine. So I took a shot, and I was very close. I was literally about, I don't know, 12 inches away from the dog, really close up. And this is what it looks like when you're using ultra wide, right? So it's a very dynamic shot. And this particular photo actually won a few awards, been published in Japan and also in Asia, multiple countries. It's been swinging around quite a few times now, this photograph, and I love this. And you can say technically, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but it's a really great moment shot, and it's also very impactful shot. It's not, look, if you kind of very critical about this photograph in terms of compositions and things like that, you can say that, oh man, the legs of the dog on the right hand side got chopped, and also, I mean, look at the composition there. You got no rule of thirds going on, but it's not just about that. Oh, you can say, oh yeah, look at the hair of the dog is a little bit clipped. Yes, technically yes, but a great photograph is not just about technical perfection. Sometimes it's all about the moments there, how we translate into viewers' eyes, and how, just that particular moment there. You can see the woman's like putting her hand on the waist. The dogs were like really like have that stare, straight on. There's a lot going on in this particular photo, and it's a very interesting shot from that, especially from this angle as well. So that's why it won a few awards there, and many judges thought that this is a very interesting photo. It's nothing about, in this particular case, nothing about the technical perfections, because it's a split moment. I lie down on the floor. I took 3 frames, and that's it. And then the dog moved, and within that 3 frames, 2 of the frames, that one of the dog looked the other way. So like, so this is the only shot I had with the both looking at the same direction. So sometimes you do have to take multiple shots to get that moment shot. So there's lucky that we're living in the digital days now. In the film days, that would be costing me a lot of money for sure. So walking on the street, I also like to be a creep sometimes. Well, not creep, and that sounds a bit wrong, right? But I like to observe people, right? A lot of street photographers do the same thing. They like to observe. And every time I go past a big window, when I see people sitting in front of it, I like to hang around in front of it. And I just stand there and staring at the people who are sitting in front of the window. Yeah, and I wait until something happened. And in this particular case, you can see that they were very happy, and both of them actually smiled. And then she looked at me, and I just snapped at as soon as she looked at me. And I was actually waiting for either of them, maybe hopefully both of them will look at me. But this particular shot, she looked at me first, and I just snapped at. This is great. I like to have the interactions there, and it's often quite funny to see that they smile because they just welcome me. They know that I was standing there for a good 5 minutes, and they was chatting until, after they finished whatever dish they were eating, and she just looked up and smiled at me. Is like, come on, bugger off. That's fun. Okay. All right, this is another shot about the compositionally and photographs. Why I think is interesting. I've been to this particular place. This is in Tower Bridge, and so many times, and I've seen this scene so many times. But every time I go past there, I always thought that if I can take a photograph here with someone, it just pops in the frame. It'll be great. So every time I go there, I was waiting for that moment. So this must be probably about the 15th time I've done it. And then I saw this woman really rushing back to the office. But the good thing is that you see the red background there. It's very poppy, right? But the red is very strong color. I need something even stronger to contrast it, to make it stand out. Lucky it's got a very harsh shadow there casting from above, and this woman I saw from distance wearing bright yellow trousers. I thought, gosh, man, if she walks into my frame, that would be perfect. And then she did. And then I was standing there for for about 10 minutes, and I was waiting for something to happen. And then she came, and I was just waiting for that moment there. And as soon as it get into my frame, I just snapped it. And so this is also about um, uh, in street photography terms, or even in documentary terms, about the anticipation. You know, you can observe. You observe a lot of stuff. You can stay there. You can listen to people. You can watch people. You can see a lot of stuff. But what makes you a better photographer is when you are actually anticipating something. You know, like you have to you have to have that idea, have that sense of what you should be doing, or what you want to look, you know, in terms of the frame. And if you once you have that idea, all you need to do is just to wait for that, for everything to come into place at that moment in time. Then you click a shutter button, and that's all it is. And so this is exactly what happened there. I was standing there observing, listening, looking, and trying to find the ingredients for this shot. And I kept at that angle for so long, I didn't move. But I was worried. And I'll tell you why I was worried. You see the shadow at the back? Because this is a shadow from the sun. And don't forget the sun moves, right? So like you can't stay there forever, because you know, if you stay there for half an hour, that shadow will be completely gone, will be changed, the angle will be changed. And I don't like that. So like you have to have that timing right as well. But when you anticipate something, all you need to do is just wait for that moment there when everything just comes into that single space and that split second, and you snapped it, and that's when you get that shot. So this is a very typical example when you should be executing your shot. So this is another touristy shot that I did in New York when I was there, and it's a fun thing to do, obviously. And you've got the Empire State Building in the back, and you know, if you guys live in the States, you've probably seen this many times there. But you know, as a tourist, you know, I like to take something for myself. You know, it's like a souvenir shop. So a lot of the time you can say that, sorry, I've gone backward. So a lot of the time you think that I take a lot of photos that has a lot of meanings, a lot of stuff going on, and but for me, I would say that it doesn't harm by taking some tourist shot. Sometimes you gotta chill, you know, as a photographer, especially when you do a lot of traveling photography. You know, you can do some shots like this. These are standard, no brain. You just go there, you know, see something nice, you just snapped it, and it's good to have these sort of shots as well within your portfolio, because not only it just change, it can be a good supplement photos for your storyline, you know, and because depending what sort of thing you want to do for your trip, you may want to do some street photography there, you may want to do something, but having these shots in the actual series would make everything looks a lot more interesting, right? It's just not just one photo. I always say to people, I always say to photographers, especially a lot of my students, is that don't always just rely on one or two photos. Yeah, I want to see a series of photos that lead into that shot, the moment why you took that shot. I want to see the whole story behind it. And you know, it's good that you talk to me. It's good that you maybe write an essay about it. But sometimes when you have a whole series of photos that accompany that particular shot, it would just looks a lot better, you know. And so like this would be one of those good supplement shots, even though it may look very touristy, very standard. But if you're shooting something in the States, if you're shooting something in New York, especially, if you have something, you know, that you create, maybe it's going to be a masterful photo in the States, you will going to have a lot of photos accompany that frame there to make you feel proud. So this is another shot that I took this shot. I tell you what, the reason why I took this shot is that right, okay, for all my American friends, especially the people who live in New York, yeah, I coming from UK, and especially, I mean, I grew up in London, grew up in Hong Kong, so I was expecting to see a yellow cab in New York. Not these. I wanted one of those big giant things that you see in movies. And I was looking for them, you know, I was seriously looking for them. Around New York, I cannot see any, not one. And they all have Prius. They all have Prius and Nissan electric vans. There's old style, you know, yellow cab that you can find, you know, in New York, in movies and everything like that. I was so shocked. So that's why I took this shot, just for me to remind myself, yeah, those were lies. Yeah, they only happen in movies. That doesn't happen in real life. And all I can see is Priuses, in Toyotas, and Nissan, and nothing else. And it's quite funny when I saw that, and I thought, okay, I gotta take this shot, you know, just to tell people that, yeah, you want to find those old style yellow cabs, no chance. You can't see them. It's only the new stuff, and which is quite disappointing because I was hoping to see one. I hopefully will sit in one, and but no, I couldn't find one at all. So, this is another shot. This is again for my own satisfaction. I want to try to create a shot that was taken by Henri Cartier-Bresson, the famous French street photographer, of the bridge, right? You know, and this is the same place, exact same place that he took the shot. I just found it really cool just to be there, and for me, again, you know, like it's no harm by replicating what the old master has done, because you want to test, well, not only test your skills, but also maybe it's a memento memoir thing, you know, like you want to just take a shot of that for you to remember, right? And for me, it was cool. I was there, I just take a shot of it, and I was happy. And again, it could be a very good supplement photograph for your masterpiece eventually. And a lot of these are just day-to-day stuff that I'm trying to capture in New York. The obvious steam coming from the road, and is quite interesting to see that, because you know we don't have this in London, and I just found it quite cool to have a shot to remember with. Okay, this is the final section. So before I do that, let me just close it and answer any question you may have. Hopefully there will be some questions. I hope that I'm not so boring so far. So are you guys okay? Hopefully you're not too bored. If you're okay, I'm going to continue after a short while. And say hello to some people. Arthur, hello there. Thank you very much for enjoying my photographs. I've got a lot more to show you in a minute, of course. There you go. Lifetime by Tim. Hi, Tim from Germany. Work is over, now you're enjoying. That's great. Thank you for enjoying my photos so far. Have you tried Photolab 4 changes to Lightroom class in Photoshop? Oh, you talk about Adrian. Okay. Yes, I have tried Photolab 4. In fact, I did a kind of short demo last week with the noise reduction, the prime thing that they had recently introduced in the Photolab 4. Is amazing. And I'm still playing with it. And I can tell you that I did more comparison between the two. It is still shockingly good, you know. And on my Facebook group, See the World Together, and I see some people download it and also trying to use Photolab 4, and even they said the same thing about the noise reduction is ridiculous. That it does really work really well. It's cool. And I know that Photoshop, and I also have Photoshop as well, and also Lightroom, and they recently done an update, literally a couple of days ago. They have the new stuff like sky replacement and all the other thing that kind of like Luminous and all the other people are doing already. So it's not new, but just new for Lightroom stuff. I do notice a couple of feature changes as well, which is actually quite interesting. But for me, like I'm not always the big manipulator in a way, so those stuff is not really my thing. I'm not sure if you saw another YouTuber, Thomas Heaton, you know, famous landscape photographer, and also a very good YouTuber as well, you know, and he hated Lumina. I'm pretty sure that he hate Lightroom new features about sky replacement. You know, I totally agree with him. You know, like if you are so into photography, you are really passionate about photography, what sort of manipulation, you know, would be acceptable? Okay, in my competition, I have a edit categories. This is for this sort of thing, sky replacement, manipulation. This is cool. I know some people do that as an art, and that's totally fine. But if you do it not as an art, but simply trying to enhance a photograph that is not actually having that same, let's say having that same nice skies when you took the photo, but you replace it, you change the mood completely. I'm not sure I would agree to it. However, like I said, in my editing categories in the competition, it's all about on the art side of it. So like if you change it into a very a dreamy wonderland, you know, that's cool. You know, I'm happy for you to put some montage in there, you know, like manipulating everything, make it look like a space, you know, anything, you know. And if you're really good at Photoshop, that will be the category you should be entering. But if you're really good in just general edits in terms of making something that doesn't look good but into very good, not by replacing something, you can also edit, you can also throw into the edit side of it as well, because it's all part of it. I know it's a little bit confusing because a lot of people do say that, oh, you know, I edit my photo anyway regardless. That is true. so that you have to edit before you submit your photos to any other categories in the competition. It's the same thing, but this is the kind of like just a step over. If you're starting to become really good at it, then this should be something you should be trying. And the winner of the editing categories will get a free DxO Photo Lab 4 Elite license. Yeah, it's worth 150 quid, man. It's expensive. Okay. Anyway, let's see if there are any other comments here. Marcus, hello there. So, yeah, photography is more interesting. Your situation awareness and empathy, since you learn how to read how people move and what's happening with just visual cues. Yep, that is correct. You know, like this something helps a lot when I'm doing my professional jobs, because you have to read people all the time. You have to read exactly what's going on, you know, around them, and especially in unexpected moments, right? When you I shoot a lot of weddings, you may already aware that. So at weddings, I would be waiting, I'll be observing, I'll be just standing in the corner, I'll be listening. So like I know I can anticipating something is going to happen when people's conversation getting louder, and you can see that something maybe exciting is coming, just about to happen, and I would just wait for that moment to happen. So you really have to read a lot of stuff when you're there. So you become really good when you can do that. So because I always say that, you know, reaction is too slow. If you're just reacting to something, you already miss it, because by the time you react, it's already happened. So you have to anticipate. So like you just have to be hands-on all the time, and that is also another reason why being a professional photographer is a very tiring thing. And because if you're a tourist, if you are an amateur, for instance, if you go to a place just for visiting a city, whatever, you know, you just take shots at whatever pleases you, you know. And but when you're a professional, you want to perform, trying to capture that perfect moment there. You want to get the top stuff. Even if you're a serious amateur, you do the same thing, right? And you just put a lot of effort into it. You'll be holding a camera, standing in the crowd for like 15-20 minutes. You just be holding it. You know, it's tiring holding the bloody camera in front of you for 20 minutes, for instance. And it's a tough job. At weddings, it's the same thing. You know, you stand, people will say, oh, I pay a few grand for a photographer to stand in the corner for 8 hours. It's not, yeah, I'm standing there, but I have to be ready for the 8 hours. It's not an easy thing to do just by standing there, just capturing moments of stuff, you know, whatever is happening at a wedding. It's not easy. You know, you can do it, you know, and see how much like memorable shot you can find, right? It's not easy at all. People don't know it until you actually try it, and that's what I can say about weddings. Okay. Better to get rid of the yellow caps. Oh, like I said, Stefan, and I just think that the yellow caps are funny, because I just thought that I couldn't find those traditional yellow caps. I just want to have the yellow caps there. It's only for me, and to remember that all those nice big giant yellow caps that they just there for show in movies, but in real life they just don't exist. Oh, thank you, Smile. Thank you very much. Oh, Zeo's going. Okay, no problem. Thank you very much for joining me, and you have a good day, mate. Right, and Randy. Right, my journey started in the 70s with my XD11. Then went in Navy. Did not shoot until 2005 with my Olympus E500, and then crazy from there. A lot of people do that. They took a break from between, you know, so in between careers and things like that. It happens to so many people. How many my workshop student told me about the same thing? A lot of them come to me that, oh, I was so into photography when I was in my teens, my early 20s. Then jobs got in the way. You know, I started to travel a lot for my jobs. I started to do this and that. You know, work got bogged down, then have family. Then when the kids grow up and they got back to their hobby, which is the photography, and they come back to me, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, because, you know, I missed so much in photography now. And it's a very common theme that I see. A lot of people are picking up the cameras once again because they miss it, which is all cool. You know, like I think that it's never a better time to learn photography now, especially it's digital now. You can do a lot of stuff yourself. In the old days, you as you know, Randy, is that unless you're very good hands-on, has a lab that can develop your own photos, you only got limited stuff you can do. You know, you capture the shot, you do the moment thing, yeah. but you're definitely less hands-on in terms of the overall outcome of the photograph. You know, you're not developing yourself, you're not printing yourself, and you're sending it to a lab if you don't have a development tank at home. So it's harder, right? It's harder, right? So these days you can actually do everything from the beginning to the very end. When you print out the photos, you can do everything in-house, and that's the beauty of digital photography now. Then I think it's cool, and so that's what I think is a very good time to actually get back into photography, because you can learn so much that you missed in the old days. And a lot of the thing that we're doing digitally now is actually very similar to what we did in film days, and dodge and burns and things like that. You know, it's very similar. And it just obviously you got more parameters to play around with, and compared to the obviously the analog era. Being digital, you got a lot more to play with, and then now you can see that you can replace the bloody sky. So that's something for you to play with. Okay, and let's see it again. And Code, call you May East. Is that right? I'm trying to pronounce your name. Macy's. Okay. Thank you very much again. Chris Pearson. Hope you're having a good day. I'm having a good day. Okay. Let's May East. Okay, I will call you May East. Yeah, am I correct? Am I actually pronouncing your name correctly? Okay, hopefully I am. If not, message me to correct my pronunciation. I'm really bad at it. Okay, let's see if anything else here. Marcus, red photography, weddings versus concert in terms of required reaction times. Yep. Yeah, you know how it goes, mate. As it can be very, very difficult. Oh, hello there. We got RC Kiwis in the house. Hey, these dudes. If you're into RC stuff, I'm not sure how many of you are, because you all like cameras here. I'm actually in a little bit of RC nuts myself. If you don't know what RC is, it's remote control. In particular, remote control cars. And I love remote control cars. Since when I was a very young age, and in fact, I actually took my truck out. Guys, I took my truck out this morning, and with my kids, and we went to the park to do some crawling, and it's been a really fun day today. And my kids' truck broke, both of them. I now have to fix them now. And so it's a bit of fun. So these guys from Hong Kong as well. If you haven't checked out the channel, RC Kiwis, they got a channel there. Pretty fun stuff. They do a lot of RC stuff, and do check them out, mate. Okay, and let's see if there's anything else here. Everyone has a story to tell, and it was great to hear yours in more depth. Thank you, Dale. Yes, I have a lot more to talk about, because I'm just about to tell you Turning Pro, which is the last section of this presentation. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that bit as well. So just the last few things before I move on to my next section is, even architecture photography needs anticipation if clouds moving fast and light is changing rapidly. Yes, absolutely. I mean, photography is all about that timing. People always don't quite understand that side of it. They think that, oh, I can take a photo anytime. No, you don't. A lot of clients, they always tell me that, oh, I love that photo that you took for whoever. I saw it on your website, this and that. I want to do that shot, but I'm only available at 12 o'clock. I said, you cannot do that shot at 12 o'clock whatsoever. No, not noontime, not high noon when the sun is directly above your head. You cannot do that shot. And people don't appreciate it. And also, like when it's moving, I always say to them, you cannot replicate this very photo again, because things changing all the time, around you. You can't have the same bus going past you. You can't have the same people going past you. It's all about that moment. If you're lucky, you get similar shot, but you can't always replicate that shot unless you have like £2 million to hire actors and stuff like that to replicate the whole scene yourself. You just cannot do that again. And that's the beauty and the value of photography, right? You cannot replicate it. And that's the exact reason why when I do videos on YouTube, and I always tell people, the reason why I don't always share my EXIF data, the shutter speed, ISO values, whatever, for that particular shot. That's the exact reason why I don't do that. Because even if it gives you all the details about that particular photographs, you can't replicate that. You know, the lighting could be different. You know, you might have to use different ISO. You might have to use different shutter speed. It's a totally different animal to start with. You know, like things could be completely different, and that's why I think that is, to me, sometimes is pointless to have those data listed on the screen. I know it can be helpful. I don't mind showing it if you really want to use it, and but to in the end, I think that is going to be a little bit tricky to do it again, just by giving you all the data, how I set it up and things like that. It's good that I show you how to, but not to completely use everything that I use in that particular shot. Because like you said, clouds could be different, this can be different, everything could be different, and then you might have to bump up the ISO, you might have to do a different shutter speed, you might have to open up the aperture wider to do certain things. Things will be completely different, and different bodies, different format could be changing, the depth of fields and everything. It's just different, right? Okay, let's move on to the professional side of it before I answer any more questions. And Randy said that you keep a journal for your photography as well. Yes, that's cool. I love journals. Okay, let's go into my last section now, guys, and let me play back. So now this is the time when I'm turning pro. So after all this travel stuff that I did, all the portraits that I did, and being published by Business Insider, decided to dump my 9-to-5 jobs and becoming a pro in photography. And of course, for me to think about being a pro, first of all, is I can make a living out of it. God damn it, if you're pretty pro, you got to make some money to eat, right? So I did so many research here. I mean, as much as I love photography, I still wasn't deciding what sort of thing I should be doing, and to make money. It's easier for me to say that, oh, I enjoy travel, I can do travel photography, but you have to sell those photos, right? Not, when you're becoming pro, you have to sell your prints, you have to sell your stuff. But who is going to buy your travel photos when there's so many travel photographers out there? So competition was big thing there. And also you want to find publisher, you want to find things, it's hard. It's really hard. So travel photography is out of the way. As much as I love travel photography, nope, that's not going to be money making. Then I looked at like simple portrait stuff and all the other stuff, and I thought, yeah, that could be good, but then I have to need a studio, and I don't have a studio at the time. I'm talking about right in the early days. So I can't afford a studio, so I forget it. I can't do it. And then I start looking at other things and like products and similar thing. I don't have a client, so to speak, so I can't take product photographs and sell prints. So I looked at many different categories, and none of them I could make money off. And the easiest one was wedding. I like weddings. I love weddings, to be honest. I do like you see these photos that I created, and I love it. But at the time, I was looking at the easiest way in to make money from my camera, full stop. Because I know from there I can branch out and do other things once I'm established. And that's exactly what I did. Started with wedding photography. So obviously the easiest way to do is to find friends that are about to get married, right? And so right, who's getting married, right? Who's getting married? Come on, let me photograph your wedding for free. And I did get one, and then so that's exactly what happened there. That's exactly how it started. I got one friend got married in 2005. Took my first job. They did pay me peanuts, really small money, but for me it's good because I just want to experience. I didn't have any pro gears, nothing. I had a kit lens, and but they saw my photograph from China and stuff. They loved it, and they thought, I trust you, and then. So that was good. Actually, that was how I started, and the rest is history. And people liked my photo. They passed around, and people saw the photo and said, "Oh, can you do my wedding as well?" And really, that's the history now. And then the snowball starting to roll. People starting to know me, and through word of mouth, and got more people recommending me, and then it just happens. So I keep shooting weddings, and I still shoot wedding today, even though I cut down a lot nowadays, and because I'm quite picky in what clients and what places I shoot. I'm doing a lot more other things now, and I do a lot of filmmaking, like I mentioned. I do a lot of commercial work for Olympus and all the other companies now. I do content creation for brands. So I from then on, I branched out quite a bit. But wedding is still something that I kind of enjoy because I can be very artistic in weddings. And like this particular shot I've done, and it's pretty cool. I like a very classic wedding that I can really showcase, you know, the human side of it, the love, and also the artistic environment. Because a lot of these places, when they get married, are grand, right? You know, they're very nice and classic, and I do like that sort of thing. And also a lot of happy moments. You know, who doesn't want to be happy? And I like to be surrounded by happy people. So like when you're at a wedding, you know, you are surrounded by happy people all day long. You know, like from the beginning to the end, everybody's happy, drunk, everything. You know, you got the whole lot there. I love it. And by the way, everything you see here is all through my Olympus cameras. So who said Olympus camera is crap at professional stuff? No, no way, man. Look at this. It's all very, very good photographs you can capture with your Olympus camera, with the Micro Four Thirds sensors. So to people who never ever picked up the cameras and say that this camera is rubbish, forget it. You don't understand photography. Don't talk to me. Don't even try to talk to me. Because, you know, I use full frame, I use Micro Four Thirds, I use APS-C, I've used any formats, I even use medium format films, you know, even now. So I know the formats, I know how it performs, I know the differences between them. And but I just prefer to use Micro Four Thirds because it's the most suitable tool for me to do my jobs and quickly and efficiently. Why not? You know, and everything you see here is the all Micro Four Thirds, all through my Olympus cameras, and you can see colors very good. I always love Olympus color. Nothing to deter me to say that that is crap and things like that. And I always just love this stuff. And yeah, I got back again. Sorry. And yeah, low light stuff. This is shot at an ISO 3200. And if I have the Photo Lab 4, this shot, I'm going to redo this shot in Photo Lab. I just want to see the difference in terms of noise reduction, and that's pretty cool. And yeah, it's just love. Right. Oh, I thought that was the last session. Very evolved then. So just quickly go through this bit here, and you know, for wedding, obviously lead into other things as well. And I'm starting to do a lot of proposals. Yay! Right. What's a proposal? For those people who may not know or may not be old enough to know what a proposal is when you ask the question to your partners, "Will you marry me?" Yes, and I do that a lot, and I do that a lot in London. And you can see that all these are live action. So I have to be a spy on the day, and then I have to either become a tourist and just suddenly went in front of them and snap some photos, or I have to be a very sneaky sniper to use a long lens, like this particular one here. I have to stand really far away, use a long lens to capture their moments. All these locations are predetermined by the guy who's proposing. Guy or girl, you know, depending on your sexuality, and then we will kind of predetermine a location, a spot where he or she is gonna do it. So I would be hiding in somewhere or be around the area at that moment in time. So like people always think that, oh, they must be really nervous, and I can tell you that I am probably more nervous than them, because first of all, even though they pay me in advance, right? The thing is, I don't know when they're gonna show up. You know, we said, okay, 12 o'clock, we say 12 o'clock. We do it at 12 o'clock. But you can't be exactly 12 o'clock. So I would be there early, a lot early, just in case they're there early. I can't miss the moment, right? So like I would be there for like 45 minutes sometimes, and sometimes I'd be there for an hour, standing around for an hour, waiting for that to happen. And then and sometimes also, because a lot of my my clients are from abroad, so they come over here. They don't have the orientations. They don't know the place too well. They just relying on the map, on Google Maps or something like that, or Google Street View, and they don't know. So sometimes they're in the wrong angle. Sometimes they could be in the wrong position, and I have to adjust to it. You know, I try to rescue it by adjusting myself, but I can't change. I can't say, "Hey, can you move over a little bit? It's a better shot." I can't do that. I just have to let it happen. So I have to pre-educate all my clients, saying that, you know, look, you know, for something perfect to happen, you have to fall into the right places at the right time. But I will try my best to do my job, you know, but ultimately, you know, it's down to you guys. So, but I have to say, majority of the time it worked out okay. But sometimes I do have some clients in a completely wrong angle. I can't even see their faces, but they told me that I want the background more than my face, and okay, in that case, that's fine. I will just continue to angle my camera with the background rather than your faces, and sometimes it happens, and I'm just telling you. So all these are proposal shots, and really lovely. You've seen this photo that's also been published many times, and great stuff there. I love it. This is also real stuff in real time, and I love the way they smile and laugh, and some of them got really emotional, obviously, and a lot of them got cries, tears in their eyes, and yeah, it's a very good feeling when you do it. And I'm telling you, like, I was so nervous that my heart was pounding so hard, up until that moment when he or she kneel down and pop the question. Until then, I started to calm down. I started to become myself. But before that, I would be so nervous. And so you can see that a lot of things going on, and through my career, and I'm still doing a lot of proposals, shooting in the rain like this one, and proposing in the rain can be something quite challenging as well. But like I said, I'm geared up for any weather with my EM1X. It's just absolutely cool. And I love it. Moment shot. This is also anticipation. Remember we talked about it, anticipation earlier. And this is very similar thing here. So like they just proposed, and I was walking, taking some photographs of them, some nice portraits. But I saw them walking around, walking away from me, and I was just about to pack up my cameras, but I still have it. I knew at some point she might turn back. So I was anticipating that moment. So I pointed the camera at them, continuous focus, just waiting for that to happen. And she did turn around, but she gave me that really good natural look of her. I just, oh, perfect, that's good. And he looked at her, I was like, that made the shot happen. And nothing better than that. It's all about these little moments, little details, and that makes your shot that pops a lot more, a lot better. And that's how I would like it. Great stuff. And that's probably the end now. So this is another shot I did in 5 a.m. in the morning in London, Millennium Bridge, because they wanted to go there, and they said that I want sunset or sunrise colors. Well, you got to be sun rising, because sunset there will be packed with people. And if you want an empty shot of the bridge, you have to go out really early. So there you go, 5 a.m. There you go. Good stuff. Shoot with your heart, of course. And then, you remember that you have to be loving your game to be able to perfect your game. And then, so like if you are genuinely interested in your photography, shoot with your heart. And this way, not only you see it through your cameras, but also the subject or the people you're shooting with or shooting at, they feel your enthusiasm and your love towards your game. And then, and they would be a lot more at ease when you shoot when you're photographing them. It works both ways. They put a lot of trust on you, and then and they want you to perform. But if they feel that you are really genuinely passionate about your craft, and they feel a lot better, and it shows in the photo as well. They will have their faces and everything just completely perfect in that case. Yeah, it's all to do about you as well as a photographer, not only just about them. You can always say that, all you need is just some nice pretty lady or boys, in front of the camera lens. I can take some gorgeous photos, right? In a way, yes. But if you really want to up your game into another 2 levels, you got to be that photographer. You got to be that photographer who be able to exploit them, who be able to communicate with them, to take them out from their comfort zone, take them out. You have to get close to them, get into their zone. And they feel it. They need to feel the energy. It has to be mutual. So once you do that, you can get any shot you want, and I can tell you that. So that is cool. There you go. That's the end of my presentation. Obviously, journey continues. So I may make another one next year and see what happens, because this year is we don't know what's going on this year. So next year maybe something else different. Let me close it and let me bring it back to my my stream now. There we go. So guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Did you guys enjoy it? Hopefully you guys liked the photos and my slow presentation about my journey in photography, especially some of my pro stuff that you saw there. And so I always said I'm a pro. Some of you may not actually believe. And so I'm showing you some of my work now. So you do know that I actually do make money from my photography, not just talking about it. I do shoot a lot, on a daily basis. Not this year, obviously, but then like usually normally that I do have a lot of clients. I do shoot every single day. I just enjoy my game. I just enjoy whatever I do. You got to love what you do, right? Okay, cool. Let's see. Is any other question you want to ask me, and I will be super happy to answer. So, thank you. Okay, cool. Randy, say check out my website. Let me know what you think. I will certainly check out your website, Randy. And randyphotography.com. Everybody, if you want to check out Randy's website, you're very welcome. Okay. Sometimes listening analysis of photos of others and other angles will be better if subject will be in that corner. I see myself that not always is possible. Yeah, it's not something that you can force yourself or force it to happen. To be quite honest, you go to a place, you see this. Let's say you see this photo before online, you want to recreate it. When you go to a place, it just may not happen because something could be there, road may be closed, a giant bin might be in front of it, and they might be just packed with tourists. You just can't replicate it. And at the same time, if you do a lot of things that you like to better angle, but just is physically impossible, for instance, then you can't force it. You just have to work out another way, you just have to try to use improvisation. Trying to improvise, and in that case, like I said, a lot of things to do with your preparation work. That you're gonna have to work out like kind of plan A, plan B, plan C. In weddings, I kind of have to work out like plan A to plan Z. So because something always happens, and when you do it professionally, you can't just always rely on the one or two solutions. You have to be able to you have to be flexible and you have to improvise when something does happen. And it happened to me, like I'm telling you, every single wedding I have to do just that. You have to improvise, you just have to do things based on your experience, based on skill set and creativity. You just have to do it with a cool concept, altogether. So like a lot of people think that, oh yeah, wedding photography, they just snap photos on the day. A good wedding photographer don't do that. They're just not just snapping. They snap it at the right time, get the right moment, and also they snap it creatively. They have to do creative as well. Not an easy thing to do when you have to do both, like get it at the right time and also do it creatively. It's not easy at all. So that's what you're paying your money for. Not just about a guy standing there for 8 hours taking snapshots. Not just about that. It's a lot more to it. So I can guarantee that. Let's see one other thing here. Jimmy Carl, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy my photos. Thank you. Oh, Randy has to go. So, you probably already gone. I'm just tracking back some of the comments there. So, yep, some domestic duties to perform. I am too, because my son and daughter just finished their lunch. Not lunch, I mean afternoon snack. We're gonna have some dinner soon. Yeah, so this week is their half term, so they're actually home resting for a week. So that's why this morning I took my RC cars out with them, and they got the two little trucks as well. So we went out for some crawlings, and then yeah, it's been a fun day out with Daddy, and just go out, just have some fun. Even I had some fun. Okay, very diverse wedding photography. I seldom to encounter among wedding photographers. Yeah, I guess. I mean, likewise, I don't come across with a lot of event photographers, for instance, even though that we kind of like events in a way, but I don't come across with commercial events. I don't come across like concerts, for instance. I don't talk to a lot of those photographers, although nowadays internet's easy. We have virtual friends online that they do that sort of field, so we talk a lot in that sense. But I rarely kind of meet people that are face to face in that field. But I'm hoping that will change. Hopefully that, YouTube channel, my YouTube channel here, and also my See the World group and all the other stuff that's going on now will be able to bring us all together at some point. And when I do photo walks, when I do meetings and things like that, and everyone will come out, we'll be able to meet and talk, about different side of photography. So that will be really, really fun. And I'm hoping to interview some other photographers in the future, just to, have a general chat about different aspects of photography and different professional photography and different side of photographies, because there's so many genres within photography itself, just not just about camera and lenses, as you know. So that will be very interesting for me as well, just to learn a few things about different things altogether. Right. And Trevor, hello. Do you use burst mode to capture the proposal? Oh yes, I think I have to. And to be quite honest, very often I filled up the buffer, and that's before the EM1X. EM1X is almost all like kind of unlimited, and but EM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark III, I filled up the buffer if I do proposal, only because I don't want to miss any blinking eyes. Well, actually, I don't want to capture blinking eyes. I want to capture the good stuff. So for that moment, for that, yeah, in a few minutes, I would basically do a lot of bursts, not one whole burst. I would just take bits of it, and so every time I think something happens, over time you would know what's going on, and then you just take short bursts, like 20, 30 photos at a time, just to take a whole bunch of them. When I go back home, I would just pick the right one from that burst, and then just keep them. So yeah, it's interesting to do proposal because it's hard work. You have to. You don't really want to miss that moment because you just don't know how they're going to do it. As much as I see proposal these days, every time is still different. I'm telling you, and so it's always. That's why I'm saying that it's quite nervous. I'm quite nervous to do it. And even like I have a lot of experience for it already. It's not easy just to capture the right stuff. And proposal could go either way, right? He or she could say yes or no. That would be the fun bit. Victor, how many times you got married since you got a lot of proposals? Too many times, mate. Too many times, Victor. Too many times. Catherine, hello there. Wonderful, some great ideas. Thank you. Thank you for joining me, and hope you enjoyed today's live show and learn a little bit of my journey in photography. And if you want to learn a bit more about taking photographs and things, of course, stay tuned. This channel, I'm going to do photography 101s. The one coming this Sunday. Stay tuned for that. I'm going to tell you a little bit how to take photographs better. So this Sunday's video is all about photography. Nothing about gears, and then just a change. Because I've been doing too many gears these days, so just trying to step away from it a little bit and then come back to it a little bit. Okay, Patrick, and excellent. Enjoy the presentation. Thank you very much for enjoying my presentation. I think that's it. I caught up with everything. And wow, wonderful. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed everything that I talked about today, and it's not too, let me bring all the shows again, and not too boring for you guys. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself. Like I said, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it even today. A lot of times, and I think photography, especially being a professional, is that things could become a little bit repetitive, especially on the living style, so to speak. Not so much about the client, not so much about what I'm going to shoot. It's more about the living style. You go out, you get out, you get up, get out of bed, you prepare yourself, you go out, photograph your client, come back, load up your computer with the photos you took, and you process them, you submit them. You send it out to your clients, and it's a whole cycle. Every single day is the same thing. And don't forget, being your own boss is also different as well. You got random jobs, right? You got random bookings, so you could be working 7 days a week, weekends included. You could be suddenly have 2 weeks of emptiness, there's nothing, and then you can be working like your ass off, for like 4 months. It's just so random. But when you're working, it's hard, especially when you have a family, have a young family. It's not easy that you want to spend time with your kids, but sometimes when your job, you just can't do it. And because of the randomness of the whole business side of it, it's quite hard for me to plan stuff sometimes as well. And because photography has some, especially in weddings and stuff, you have high season, low season. It's tough. Being a dad also is something of a challenge. And that I would say that I only learn about it when I became a dad. It's not that I anticipated. Definitely not. So you're learning every day. I'm learning every day as a father now, and is still learning. They're growing up, I know, and they're becoming more independent in a way. So I guess it's cool. This is all part of life, right? And we're all learning. We all doing things together. And you see me for the last 3 years now on YouTube channel. You see my change. You see my style change. You see things that I do differently now, and even the style of the channel has changed slightly. Even my streaming station is slightly different. I'm actually in my bedroom, to be honest, and because my kids are downstairs, usually I would do it downstairs or in my studio. My studio is still not bloody finished. I still need to finish that so I can get in there and do my stream there. And but anyway, so hopefully you guys all enjoy today's little chat about my photography journey. And yeah, I mean, obviously things could still change over time. You know, I'll never say never to anything. In 5 years' time, I could be a completely different person again. So if you want to find out, you just have to stay tuned in this channel. I'm pretty sure I will tell you all about it. And with whatever is going on in the Olympus cam, you know, I seriously don't know whether I will still continue to be an Olympus ambassador, you know, in long term. So you just have to stay tuned for that. But regardless, I still love my Olympus gear. I'm still going to be using my Olympus gear until something really does force me to do something else, and that could be different. But in the meantime, I'm very happy, and of course, I'm very faithful, and also having my full confidence in the Olympus corporation. Or Olympus JIP now, you know, and that's the new corporation, new entity now. It's called the OMD Digital Corporation. That's it. Yes. So so let's stay tuned for that and see what's in store for me to do over the next few years for Olympus. But even without Olympus, I'm still going to be doing whatever I'm doing currently in this channel, which is, you know what, photography and filmmaking. So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm already working with other brands, so you're going to get plenty of content from me. So long do you want to listen to my voice. Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much. And oh, KA just joined. Hello there. Have to catch up with the full version up later. Yeah, there's a lot going on today, so hopefully you won't bore you out. But I can tell you that it's very interesting. I've got a lot of my photos being showcased today, so hopefully you enjoy that as well. So good stuff. And anybody else got any other question? If not, I shall terminate my stream today. But before I terminate, and remember the competition. I keep shouting off on my competition because I work my ass off for this thing. If you have any question, of course, you can ask me. But I will show you this. Remember, the website is seetheworld.gb.net. You can go over there. You will be able to win some prizes from all these lovely people: Olympus, Three Legged Thing, DxO, Holyland, Instinct, Laowa, and Pergear. And you got a lot of prizes to win. So please do check it out. I'm going to leave my website on so you can see it. seetheworld.gb.net. If you want to go to my Facebook group, it's called See the World Together. There we go. So See the World Together. You go to my Facebook group. There's already over 400 members there, and it's keep growing. I'm so happy to see so many photographers, so many creatives joining that initiative on Facebook. Because this See the World group is basically sharing our views of the world. Not necessarily need to be artistically impressive. As long as you have a photograph or video of the world that you're seeing, you're very welcome to submit, because all we want is to collect a bunch of videos and photos just to document it. It's a collective, and then hopefully that over time we have a whole bunch of useful and memorable and valuable photos to share to the world in a later stage. And that will be something for everybody. And remember, this group is for everybody. And I have people, even from my friends who are not even photographers, they join there. They just share photographs of them having a good day out, having a coffee time in London. Just send them photos, because some of these photos are quite valuable in terms of the actual scene itself, because it could change in the next 10-15 years. So when we look back and some of these photos, you will say, wow, does that place look like that? That's cool, right? Okay, lovely stuff. And thank you very much. And remember, I will speak to you all later on. Oh, I got one question. 1 second. Let me bring up the See the World here, and so you can still see it. Facebook group, I got a comment here, and let me just close this one, Facebook group. Okay, Victor, relating to the competition, there are options to see already submitted photos of other contestants? No, not at the moment, because I'm just not set up for it, because I did everything myself here, and I still have to do a lot of things manually. So I just simply don't have the time to create that loop. When people submit something, I'm reposting it so people can see it. Unfortunately, that's not happening. But I think it's probably better in terms of your focus, you know, because I want you to submit your work, and based on what you believe is the best work that you have. Like I said, it doesn't need to be photographed in the last 12 months. It can be any gears, it could be anything. And it's very easy, very straightforward. You just pick out whatever is your favorite. I think that's probably what the competition should be. Rather than gauging yourself what other people is doing, I think is probably better for in terms of inspiration. Because later on, when you do see the winning photograph, then you see, oh, why that won the competition, because it's that, you know, and then you kind of will learn from it. And then this is something that I also being asked. One more question, yes. A person asked me about getting feedback from this competition. If you want, I can personally give you feedback and on your photographs after the competition. If you want to learn about it, and obviously I'm not the judge. I have a whole proper judging panels and judging the photographs, so I won't be the one to be doing it, but I will be able to give you some guidance and something, because I run workshops. I do actually been asked for as a judge for many competitions, so I do know the judging process, and I do know a lot of stuff about photography, of course. Now, if you really want to have some feedback about your photography, you're very welcome. Just let me know if you want that, and after the competition, I will be able to do almost like a one-to-one. I'll be commenting your photos and let you know exactly what you should be looking out maybe to improve in the future. So if that's something you like, and remember, message me. Okay, cool, good stuff. So thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a wonderful afternoon, and I love, you know, talking to you guys. And obviously today's been a little bit different to the usual chat that I have about Olympus gears and Olympus things or other. Anyway, so it's all about me today. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Anyway, I shall speak to you another time. Remember, stay tuned for my Sunday's video. Sunday's video is going to be fun, and hopefully you will enjoy that as well. Then I'll see you all next week, because I'm not going to do anything over the next few days. I'm going to have a rest this week because it's my kids' week, and I'm going to spend some time with them, have some fun, and I will be doing something else next week. See you all, and I'll catch me next time on my live stream on next Wednesday, same time, 3 p.m. London time. Anyway, thank you very much. Oh, one more last minute. And that is, do I have an Insta ID? I do have an Insta ID. Just search for Jimmy Cheng Photography. There you go. Right at the top here, you see my social. Let me just enlarge it for you. That's my Instagram, mate. And there you go. Instagram is there. There you go, Jimmy Cheng Photography. That's my Instagram. You'll see my stuff there, even though that account's a bit weird, because I'm not actively on Instagram. I just post random stuff here and there every now and then. And but you'll find me more active on Facebook. So you can find me on Facebook at jimmycheng. Oh, what's my Facebook now? Let me just type it out. I think if you want my Facebook, so Facebook is Jimmy Cheng 23. That's it, Jimmy Cheng 23. If you want to find me on Facebook, that's my username. You definitely recognize me straight away. I got the thumbnail there. You'll find me there. Okay, guys, I'll see you all next time, and have fun and have a good weekend. I'll see you all next week. Bye for now.